right-wing think tanks, foundations, newspapers, and television networks. And it's working. Thanks to decades of storytelling, many people believe that anyone can get rich if they just work hard, that billionaires deserve their money, and that poverty is a matter of personal flaws as opposed to institutional delinquencies. This is salt on wounds. Not only do the poor suffer, but they are convinced to feel shame about their own poverty. The poor have thus been persuaded to vote for billionaire-friendly policies. One might even argue that the worldwide political, ecological, and cultural crises have in fact been caused by the unprecedented inequality in wealth and the neoliberal dogmas used to justify it. 2, inequality threatens individual freedom and autonomy. Vast fortunes create social and political power, and if there's one lesson we can learn from history, it is that power always seeks self-preservation first and foremost. Frederick Douglass remarked, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and it never will." Thus, fortune and power propagate like compounding interest over time and tip the scales until the game becomes rigged. The winners can maintain their dominance across generation by hoarding resources and opportunity. Class becomes rigid and inescapable. The higher the inequality, the higher the likelihood that kids will inherit their life outcomes and have no autonomy to change them. Some kids are born on third base, and others will never step up to the plate. In an environment of vast inequality, the most important decision a child can make to better their life outcome is to choose their parents wisely. Advice to the discerning unborn. In addition to class, be sure to pick the right country, race, and gender. In America, a black child is much more likely than a white child to grow up in deep poverty, attend an underfunded school, not go to college, and end up in prison. Meanwhile, the children of the wealthy have to try really hard not to be wealthy themselves. If we're going to call this state of life determinism freedom, we're going to have to significantly narrow the definition. The list of billionaires reflects this history of stagnant social power and racial and gendered hierarchies. There are only a few African-American billionaires. One just got added, Jay-Z, this week, so that brings it to a handful. Fine. None are Native American. There are no untouchables that are billionaires. There are about 200 on the list that are women. Nearly all of them, by my count, are heirs of an empire. Men from historically dominant races make up the majority of this list, reflecting, of course, the history of colonization, empire, patriarchy, and exploitation. This is not a meritocracy. What about when billionaires give away their money? Aid to the poor is not an adequate stand-in for justice and a fair social contract. Allowing billionaires to accumulate and then decide where and how to give their money is a transfer of freedom and autonomy from the poor to the wealthy. Why should they get to allocate the world's resources? By making these distributional decisions, billionaire charity shifts power from public governments by the people and for the people to private individuals. There are good and charitable billionaires who fund the building of wells in the Middle East,